Hello and welcome to High Fell again on a damp and grey day in the northeast of England. I'm going to do a little mini series of tips and tricks, just things I've learnt or discovered over the way, and share them with you, and hopefully you'll find something useful for my fellow railway modellers. No guesses what we're going to look at to start with. Railway Modelling 101, track cleaning. Loads of different ways to do it, but first, before we get into that, just thinking about what we're looking to clean. Modern track is made of nickel silver, which is a copper alloy. So it's copper, zinc and nickel. Very conductive, resistant to corrosion. Brilliant, what's not to love? Well, some people get a little bit concerned. Some manufacturers' track can get a kind of a yellowy hue to the top of it, and it is a form of oxidization, and they think that that's a time when they need to start cleaning the track, and it isn't. It doesn't matter how shiny your track is, it's about how good the electrical conductivity is. That is the key. So we don't need to worry about the slightly tarnishing look on the surface, but we do need to get rid of the dirt that builds up and sticks to it. So we're looking at things like oil, grease, dust, any other contaminants that can build up. Sometimes they end up getting quite sticky and attaching themselves to the rail. In extreme circumstances, they can cause derailments as well. And so that's the stuff we want to get off. For many people, the first port of call is the trusty track rubber. It frightens some people because it's an abrasive, but that's because if you use it too hard, it will scratch the track. It can also deposit little bits and pieces. Well, it's not necessarily such a problem, because if you use a vacuum cleaner, you should be able to hoover that up, no problem at all. And it also helps keep the track clean by getting all that dust and other stuff up that's a problem to us. Isopropyl alcohol, IPA, not the drinking kind. This is 99.9%, which is the only stuff you should ever consider to use as an electrical contact cleaner. Just something on the 99.9%, some people have been confused thinking that that means that 0.1% of it is water, and that's going to be a whole disaster zone for your track. It isn't. That is a certification level, because this is an industrial alcohol that might get used in engineering or medical purposes. And so that is the maximum rating it can achieve. When you use it, it will dissipate any moisture. It will evaporate instantaneously. It leaves no film or trace behind, so it is perfectly safe from that perspective. It is not going to be putting moisture on your track. There is more moisture in the atmosphere, thank goodness, otherwise we'd all be dead. So this is not an issue for it. Where it can be an issue is that it might not be compatible with all paint or plastic finishes that you may have on your layout. So do be careful, and that's a genuine concern that many modelers have as well. I use it for cleaning wheels because it's very useful, but I tend to take wheels out of stock before cleaning them, so I don't have that problem. To use it, you only need, again, tiny amounts. I use an old handkerchief that's been washed many times on the top of the bottle, invert it so you get a small damp patch on there. Put a block underneath, a block of wood underneath it, and that gets a nice flat level, and just clean away. And you can see, yep, it works perfectly. There is a cost implication. I think that's about £12 for a bottle, could be even more these days. But it does work very well, and you will find other purposes for it, for example, with scenery, helping to do things like break water tension. So that's IPA. Once you've got your track clean, the next big thing for a lot of people is keeping your track clean, and this is where this product has got quite a lot of comment, shall we say. Inox MX3. So Inox is an Australian company. This is an all-purpose lubricant they make. I have a strong suspicion it's very heavily based on lanolin, which is a sheep product. It's basically it's a chemical that sheep produce to stop their fleeces from being overwhelmed with rain and things like that, so they don't get too heavy. So it's great water displacement. It also keeps it well conditioned. Raw lanolin is brilliant for using on your leather sofa. I wouldn't necessarily use this on your sofa. It does smell slightly different, so I'm not quite sure exactly what's in it. The one thing this isn't, though, it is not an electrical conductor. Some people are saying it is. It isn't. It's actually the opposite. It's inert. It will not transmit electricity, and that's how it works. It works in the same way as a dielectric compound that is used in marine applications or automotive, aerospace. You apply a small amount and it works its way around the track. Brilliant. And it leaves a layer on top. That prevents any oxidisation of the surface of the rail from anything that is in the atmosphere. When your locomotive comes across, the weight of the driving wheels, or the weight acting on the drive wheels, will push through and you will end up with a metal-to-metal contact. So the MX3 is not acting as a barrier at that point, but what it will do is act on a barrier either side. So you can imagine it funnels the electrical travel through the best point of contact. In automotive, it's using things like spark plug sealers and stuff like that, and it prevents voltage leaking. It works the same principle here. And so what it does, it maximizes the electrical contact rather than letting it dissipate through poor conductivity areas. People talk sometimes about micro arcing. Well, if that is something that's an issue because of the fact it's acting as a barrier to electrical conductivity, it will prevent that, because you won't get micro arcing where you get metal to metal. It's only where it has to jump through a small amount of an air gap. So it does work. However, and I have used it and I tried it for myself just to prove a point, it will rot the traction tyres in about 2 hours. They go flabby, fall off, and that's that job done. So then what you have to do is go around, clean all of your track, make sure it's thoroughly clean, put another set of traction tyres on, wait till they fall off, clean it again, and then keep going through until eventually you've got it all off. But if you're not running traction tyres, yeah, it works. Do remember, it is a lubricant. If you have marginal adhesion with your locomotives and the kind of trains that you're hauling, bear that in mind. That could be a slight issue. Something which I hope nobody is really using, sandpaper. My goodness, I've heard it and even seen people do this, and well, terrifies me. This is 100 grit. You shouldn't be going anywhere near anything on your track with this. I do have some incredibly fine abrasive paper. This is a 3000 grade of paper. This is a silicon carbide, and it's almost got a texture of that old photocopier paper you used to get back in the 60s, 70s. Even so, I still wouldn't use that on my track, because I have discovered something much more effective and cheaper. Balsa wood. Yep. So when I was putting the piece of wood inside the cloth to use the IPA, I suddenly thought, why don't I just dispense with all of that and use the piece of wood? And for the last 6 or 7 months, this is the piece of balsa that I've been using. It's just an offcut, so it's virtually free. You just wipe it along the same you would with the track rubber. If you find that you've got an extra bit of dirt that needs cleaning, you will feel an increase in resistance. You're quite safe to give it a little bit more pressure, because this is softer than the metal in the track, and it cleans it off beautifully. And the thing I've found is the more that I've used the piece of balsa, the less I'm having to clean. In the fact now I've not had to clean the track in the last 2 months at least. I wait till I have a running problem before I even think about cleaning track in a particular area or something like that. I've got a pretty good feel for how the layout works. It generally works very reliably. That's going to be the kiss of death. So you know straight away when you've got a problem. I've even had track where I've looked at, I thought that looks fairly grubby, but things have still worked perfectly fine. And then when it's come to the point it causes a problem, just wipe it over and away we go. There is a purpose for that piece of sandpaper. I can grab it back out of the bin. When that gets too dirty, clean that off with a bit of sandpaper and go again with that piece of wood. You don't even have to waste your pennies then. So there we go. That's how I'm keeping Hi-Fel running reliably, and works for me. If you do use it, I do say give it quite a while. Don't just use it for 5 minutes and think, oh, it's no different. The more you use it, the less you need to use it. Also, if you have brand new track, straight out of the box, or you're just laying your circuit, or you're having to put your layout down and then pick it back up again, that will get contaminated with oils from your hands and things like that, and from manufacturing. Piece of balsa wood, wipe it over. That'll give you much better electrical conductivity, and hopefully more hours of playing trains rather than having to try and trace faults. So Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm sure people will have a view on this, and just remains for me to say, keep safe and happy modelling.